60 years and going strong. This is my review of the 2014 American version of Godzilla. This was recently released. May it saw a theatrical release, and just recently, just this week, it was put out on DVD and video. So a lot of people are getting a chance to see this movie now. This review will have my thoughts on it, so there will be spoilers, just a fair warning. So yeah, what's this about here? So plot starts out in Japan in the late 1990s when something horrible happens, something catastrophic, something so unthinkably awful. Not the release of the Matthew Broderick Godzilla version. Good guess though, but no. Bryan Cranston plays a nuclear scientist who is living in Japan with his family, his wife and his kid. He's working at a facility. His wife works with him there, and there is a disturbance. There's a seismic occurrence, atomic fallout of some kind. This nuclear excess is released into the atmosphere, and they have to contain it. In the process, they lose a lot of people at this facility. Including Cranston's wife, which is a very tragic and emotional scene with great acting, is only Bryan Cranston can deliver. What a great actor. Man, I hope he's in this whole movie. But yeah, he does suspect that maybe there's something a little kind of covered up going on. There's some kind of cover-up under this occurrence. This wasn't an isolated incident. That's what his belief is. And after the death of his wife, he kind of goes insane and becomes obsessive in finding out what's going on. Meanwhile, his son doesn't really have too much contact with him. Kind of does think he's kind of like a wacko and everything like that. And yeah, so it moves forward about, 20 years? 15 years, I think. It moves forward. The son is grown up, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who is actually the main character of the movie. So, as his story kind of tops off, there is a reuniting of father and son, which I thought was actually those opening scenes with them are really nice. Like, they go into the closed off area where the military closed everything off, and it's like perfectly preserved that moment in time when that horrible occurrence happened. So it's like it's this almost like dreamlike sequence, like they're sifting through the relics of their past life as if it's not real or anything like that. So I thought it was a cool and kind of a beautiful father and son bonding kind of thing, which I liked. But basically, I mean, it turns out, yes, there is a cover up, and it's not necessarily Godzilla. It's actually these creatures. They look like giant praying mantises or something like that. These giant stick insect kind of creatures. They are what's hidden below, and they are running amok as they are released again, and they are destroying everything in the path because they're a male and they're a female, and they're going to meet together, and they're going to, well, you know what they're going to do. Mate. And that's the premise of the movie. And the hero of this movie is Godzilla, essentially. I mean, Aaron Taylor Johnson, sure, he's kind of the main human character, but Godzilla's the hero. He's the one who's going to save the day, basically, by fighting these two things. So that's what the whole movie's leading up to. And that's what you pay your money to see. And it delivers on that. There are problems I had with this movie, though. I mean, the thing is, with the human side of things, I can see what they were trying to do. What they're kind of trying to do is make it a more serious in tone type of movie to counter the bad taste many audiences may have had in their mouths from the Matthew Broderick Godzilla movie. And if you've watched my review of that, you kind of know what my opinion on it is. Basically, what it kind of felt like to me was like this weird mix of like the sitcom Friends and Jurassic Park. So they mixed those two things together, and I don't know. It was a silly movie. It was a stupid movie. No denying that. So they tried to make this one serious, almost to the point of, it's such a almost cliched saying now, but it is something that, Hollywood has kind of picked up on, and it's gritty reboot. That's kind of what they're going for here. So it is kind of like that. But kind of my problem with that is that it's sewn together in such a kind of desperate way to make everything connect, if you know what I mean. So basically, the bait and switch of the main character, which is the Bryan Cranston character, which we think is going to be the main character because he's in all the advertisements, and they pegged it as Godzilla versus Heisenberg. No, not really. He's dead after half an hour, I think, maybe somewhere around there. He dies of a broken heart. It's very sad. but it's really Aaron Taylor Johnson, who is in the army. He is a bomb diffuser. That's his specialty. I don't think we see him defuse any bombs in the movie, but that's kind of besides the point. What they do, they try to make the movie connect with him so much to the point where you kind of see the screenwriting right in front of you, which is very distracting. Because there are characters in this movie that serve individual purposes, but they all connect to the Aaron Taylor Johnson character. So we have that great character in Ken Watanabe, who is a colleague of the Cranston character. Of course, he, after he and his father are parted by his death, he has to talk to the Aaron Taylor Johnson character because, oh, I worked with your father. What can you tell me? What do you know? Blah, 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 blah. So there's that. And Juliette Binoche as his associate. Also, there is, I believe, Navy Colonel, played by the brilliant David Strathairn, David Strathairn, he sold me on this movie, by the way. They had that great trailer, where they're playing the music from 2001: A Space Odyssey, and they had his speech over it as they're like diving for some reason. You're like, why are they diving? I don't know, the speech is cool. But that's kind of he's such a great actor, so he really made me want to see the movie. So he's this Navy colonel. But guess what? Aaron Taylor Johnson is under his command, so it takes his orders. There is a nurse in this movie who is trying to, save kids in the hospital, trying to save her kid. She's Aaron Taylor Johnson's wife in the movie. So they're all connected, which, you can see, okay, this character's connected. He's going on this journey, which each step along the way meets different characters, and we see back on the characters, and we see, okay, so they're all connected, so we're supposed to be invested in not only this main character, but all the other characters who are associated with him. God forbid we show characters that have no relation to him whatsoever. But really, we're seeing this movie for Godzilla. And it delivers in that respect. And what you'll hear from a lot of people is, yes, there is not a lot of Godzilla in this movie. There's not a lot of the big guy. Which, is a fair enough criticism, even if it is not a criticism. Some people say that in a positive light. I'm kind of undecided one way or the other. That they don't overindulge in the creature, in the effects, I think is good. I could have used a little bit more, because there are moments where it's like, they show the human story. It's Aaron Taylor Johnson, Elizabeth Olsen. I love you so much. We are so happy together. Oh, look at our kid. We're so happy. You're like kind of like, okay, well, can we get to Godzilla, please? So it's kind of like that. So they try a little bit hard to employ the human element, which I'm glad they did. But I wish they could have done it a little bit better than how they do it. Is I guess my main complaint. But Godzilla, we see obscured views of Godzilla. We see Godzilla swimming somewhere. We see steam and darkness covering him. Things like that. But really what it all amounts to, and it is kind of the Jaws principle, where accidentally Steven Spielberg discovered this great method of keeping the terrifying creature hidden. But these days, it's almost twice as good, because the effect is good. So they're purposely obscuring it to make it all the more worth your while. Because, yeah, let's be honest, when you see that shark, sometimes it's like, it looks kind of fake. But anyway, Godzilla, the CGI effects look great. Very, very convincing. So maybe it was a budget thing, too. That's something to keep in mind as well. But either way, I think that works. I think the human story surrounding the Godzilla brawl probably could have been better. But the brawl is worth it. He's fighting those two fucking things or whatever they are. He's like, no, don't have sex. That's bad. Kaplam! And they fight. And there's this one really cool part where he, takes, its mouth and, crunches it open. Then he breathes a fire in there because he's Godzilla. Godzilla breathes fire, unlike in the 1998 movie. So that's something cool. If you're in an audience with Godzilla fans, that would be when you'd hear, the squeeze or something like that. Cool, Godzilla. But it's cool. And, again, after that happens, there's that kind of cheesy moment where Aaron Taylor Johnson is, looking Godzilla right in the eyes. It's like, yeah, man, you did okay. I think we both, found our way. It's so stupid. But whatever. I'm not knocking the movie, but it's just kind of cheesy when you have, all the destruction, the news ticker. Godzilla, is he a hero or is he a menace? I don't know. Or is that Spider-Man? I don't know. But whatever. So I think it's entertaining. And if, waiting for the big brawl is kind of what's on your mind through this whole movie. I think it does it well because I haven't seen every single Godzilla movie, but a lot of it is kind of waiting for the brawl to happen. So I mean, it builds the anticipation effectively, and it delivers on what you're anticipating more than effectively. I think it's a very good Godzilla brawl, and done with modern effects that, yeah, I mean, after 1998, I guess, so much better. So much better. But what is ultimately disappointing about this movie is that I think, I do believe that there is a better movie here. There is a more earnest and more serious movie that they were trying to make, that they couldn't quite do because they couldn't quite write it in such a way uh, without risking alienating us as the audience. So they had to have the human vessel in the Aaron Taylor Johnson character, and they had to have all the supporting players connected to him, so that it branches out in that kind of way that in a vicarious way, in a 6 degrees of separation kind of way, we care for that character because we care for this character because we initially care for the Bryan Cranston character. So it's like it goes step per step per step, sort of. So there's that, and you can see what they're going for, and it is kind of a cheat, sort of, not entirely, but kind of. But I think it could have been better. What I think could have made this movie better and more effective in that earnest tone that they're going for, in that super serious, you could look at this and think maybe this really could happen kind of tone. I think they could have. Here's one thing: is doubled characters. They should have doubled the characters. They should have made it like one of those Steven Soderbergh kind of movies, like Contagion, where they have all the characters. They're not necessarily connected. Some of them are connected. But you have all these names, big name actors. Like, what did Contagion have? They just take the cast of Contagion and put them in this movie. How about that? Gwyneth Paltrow, Matt Damon, Jude Law, Lawrence Fishburne, Kate Winslet. Who else was in that movie? A lot of people were in that movie. But you know what I mean? Where their stories are connected in a broad sense. Because this movie, and what they're showing in this movie, is that this invasion from these monsters, this destruction by these monsters, it's a global event. Everyone's watching this. Everyone's experiencing this. It's happening all over. So why can't we have characters around the world? Why do we have to have that scene where there is the little Asian boy who is separated from his family in trouble? Why does Aaron Taylor Johnson have to be there to save him? Couldn't that be a complete individual section of a movie where we have maybe a different character, almost like a vignetted kind of character, where it's just that one particular story, something like that. So where it all connects in a broader way, like one of those Steven Soderbergh movies. I think that would have been actually the perfect tone when you think about it. Like, if they were going for something like that, which you kind of feel like they sort of were, sort of. So I think that would have made the movie infinitely better. I think it would have made it a good movie into a great movie. This is a good movie. I think it's good. I think it's a fair movie, and I think, despite problems that I have with it, I do honestly think that the human elements are good. It is effective in what it's doing, and I think it's just very well done in kind of the meeting the minimum requirement kind of way. But it's just something that's where, okay, you get kind of sick of the Aaron Taylor Johnson character because he's a good actor and everything, but he's not like, I don't want to be stuck on a desert island with him a la Tom Hanks or anything like that. He's not that charismatic or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen better actors than him. But he does a perfectly capable job. In fact, everybody in this movie does a good job. I thought Ken Watanabe was really great. Bryan Cranston, of course, probably the standout of the movie because he's Bryan Cranston. So yeah, Elizabeth Olsen, really good. David Strathairn, great as always. In a brief role, but he has that speech. So, I mean, that's something. But I think it could have been better. But as it is, I do think it was well done in a lot of respects, particularly with the brawls. That's what you're seeing the movie for. You're not seeing this movie for Aaron Taylor Johnson. You are seeing it for Godzilla. So if that's what you're looking for, movie delivers on its promises. So no complaints there. I rate Godzilla 3 stars out of 4. It's a good movie that could have been great, but it does deliver on its promises, and that's in delivering great Godzilla action with incredible effects and lots of cool destruction, which we always love to see. So yeah, that's my review of Godzilla. So yeah, I thought it was good, adequate movie. Not great. I wish this was a rave, but it's not. But I think it is worth checking out. So if you get a chance, definitely see it. If all you're hoping for is a Godzilla brawl between two crazy creatures, then you can't ask for more from this movie. Though, I guess you could. But whatever. So that'll be my review. As always, comment, rate, subscribe, all that stuff. At hi, this is Derek, my Twitter. Derek237 is my Instagram. Derek237.tumblr.com is my Tumblr. I do have a written review of Godzilla where I express the same kind of sentiments as I did in this review, so check that out if you're interested. And yeah, thanks a lot for watching as always, and I'll see you later.